Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the third edition of Pop Spots Presents. I am your host, Andre C. Joining me, as always, my boy AWS. How you doing, sir?
Doing great as always, Andre. Can't wait for this.
And joining us here on the third episode, a man who I have been a fan of long before he was a professional wrestler. But we talk professional wrestling here, but a man who I was a fan of in his UFC days, and I can prove that by I'm just gonna put it up. It's I just want to say it's Mitch Clarke, one of my favorite people in the world. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you guys tonight?
Wonderful.
Ooh, great.
Wonderful. So I met you in 2018, on the early part of 2018 when you started wrestling, and I literally went through my pictures and found a picture.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, here we go.
I'm gonna pull it up. This is from 2018.
Oh wow.
I had a little tuft of hair on top. That's all I had. I was about the same amount of hair. But yeah, I met you. Yeah, because I walked up to you. I'm like, dude, I was just like, I was blown away getting to see a former UFC fighter in person, and I was like, oh my god, like it was huge for me. So.
Yeah, and it seems like you've been a big supporter and awesome person all around since then.
Yeah. Oh heck yeah, man. Before I met you and after. So, so we're here to talk about the life, the career of one Mitch Clarke. So as I know, you are from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. What was it like growing up in the flattest prairie of them all?
It was good, like it's a small city, but it gave you like small city vibes while still keeping a lot of like that rural mentality of hard work and stuff like that. Like in the summer, I'd work on the farm on one of my family members' farms and stuff like that. And I think that was a very important building block in my life of just teaching hard work and work ethic and those types of things. It's also why I'm like, for my size, I'm ungodly strong. So that is just like farm strength is a real thing, and it was just built through hard work. And I think they really built that mentality that I've had all throughout my life and continue to use now. And it's something that I want to instill on my children. And I think that it's an important thing. And unfortunately, I don't think you see it as much anymore because, I think we live in an age of instant gratification, and you didn't get paid till the end of harvest. So you'd have to do all this hard work and you wouldn't get paid till the end of harvest. So it's the epitome of delayed gratification.
Yeah. Yeah. I have family that ran a farm for years, and yeah, I understand. Like I remember going out with my dad to help them out during harvest, and yeah, it's grueling stuff, man. It's grueling stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, growing up in Saskatchewan. So I know you wrestled amateurly before you became a UFC fighter. Was it? Did you become a professional wrestling fan and say, "Hey, I want to go into amateur wrestling," or how did it set for you? Like, were you a wrestling fan growing up, or?
Yeah, it was like kind of like it went through those ebbs and flows. So for me, loved wrestling growing up, but I was like early '90s, so. The tail end of Macho Man, Randy Savage, you see Bret Hart, all these different things, and really enjoyed it, and then kind of fell out of it. It was kind of like not super loud in my household. And then when I kind of like started just before high school started like DX and NWO and those types of things. So I kind of got back into it and watched in the basement when no one's watching. And then my best friend wrestled, his brother wrestled, all these different things. So I joined the high school wrestling team, and I was fairly successful at that. And then kind of fell out of it till first year university where I was wrestling, and got the SmackDown versus Raw video game and started watching again. And it's just like it goes in ebbs and flows, and then I wanted to, and when I was done fighting, I wanted to do all the stuff I wasn't allowed to do because we were under very strict contracts with the UFC. And so I talked to my friend Don Ferguson, who is Sergeant Hazard. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. And he gave me the email of a trainer, and I emailed them, and he said I was too old and too small to do anything really except maybe work indie shows. And so I told Mr. Ferguson, and he sent me another. I'm blanking on it, but he's one of the GMs for Raw, not the other one. Anyway, and I talked to a person that works in Raw. He sent me to MPW to go work with, because he knew that Phil LaFawn was there, and I got to train with Phil LaFawn and with Massive Damage, and that's kind of like where it went. And then I started kind of reigniting. To be honest, where I started really enjoying it again was before I started wrestling, and they had Lucha Underground on Netflix, and I'd, like, it's available, so I'd watch it, and like, they do cool stuff and some crazy stuff, and the storylines are very soap opera-esque, which is kind of fun. So
there's something to be said for the let's film everything, put it in a can, and then edit it all together and put it out there for people. There's something to that, because I like, for the story and everything, Lucha Underground is probably some of my favorite wrestling that I've ever watched story-wise.
Hard agree.
It's just the way they weaved all 4 seasons together, and just it's because, again, the production value of doing everything in post, it makes it just that darn good.
Yeah.
So before we talk about your professional wrestling, I want to talk about, so you went through college wrestling, and how did you take that to go into getting into mixed martial arts? How did that find you? Was it you just seeing, this is the big thing right now, or what was it?
For me, like, I was wrestling, but I was cutting a lot of weight. Like, I'd wrestle at like 66 kilos, and I was attempting to make 63 kilos, which is, like, for someone who's just under 6 feet tall, is quite hard.
Mm-hmm.
I know we live in Canada, which is like a weird mixture of imperial and metric, so like kilos is very foreign to all of us. But so around 140 pounds for someone who is walking around 170 and doing that on a consistent basis is very hard, and still be able to, like, live. So I was kind of getting sick of that, and that was the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. Like, I'd watched UFC growing up. You'd go to Rogers, and I had parents that signed off on I can rent whatever I want kind of at Rogers Video, and I was like, I fully abused that.
Except for that one room, right? Except for that one room.
Can't go in the beaded door room. Can't go in there. But so, like, I remember watching, like, all the old UFCs, the Ultimate. I remember watching Ultimate 2 with Don Fry wins it, and like, he was just like, he was the epitome of man to me, and he still is. Like, even you watch him, he's still the manliest man that's ever manned.
Yeah, you watch him in those fights, you're like, damn, like, you're like, this dude is just a badass. Like, you just think he's the ultimate. He's the ultimate dude.
Next level badass.
With that mustache and those muscles, and and the American flag pants, can't compete. Yeah. No one wants a roundhouse from those.
No.
But yeah, so I watched those, and I remember, like, you watch them, and I kind of fell out of it. And, I got pretty bad ADHD, so if it doesn't keep my focus, I kind of just, like, squirrel out.
Me too.
And so realistically, the Ultimate Fighter had started on Spike TV. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
I remember watching that first season live, man. I was like 17, 18 when that season was live.
Huge Spike TV head back in the day.
It was Bar Rescue, wasn't it?
It was actually MXC at first, and then it became Bar Rescue.
So I remember watching a couple episodes. I was like, man, shit, I can do that. Sorry, I don't know what the language is like on this.
Oh, go whatever you want to say.
Say whatever. We're past it.
So, like, man, I wrestle and do this. So I found a gym in Saskatoon, and I promptly got my ass kicked, and I was, like, signed up, and it went really, really well. Trained for about 3 months, had an amateur fight. Then I was like, I was boxing before that, and doing shoot fighting, which was a real thing being taught in Saskatoon. Looking back, it's kind of garbage, but I'm also like a snob. But so, like, I remember I went 3-0 as an amateur, and, like, combined the fights were less than 4 minutes.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and then so I had a pro fight and kind of like didn't look back, and it was pretty crazy. But just like what is pretty nuts to me is like I started my career watching Diego Sanchez in that first season, and at the end of my career, I was training with him in New Mexico. So it's kind of like really super cool, full circle. And then he went kind of bananas.
He did. That's one of those ones I'm like, oh, why'd you have to go insane?
Dude, there's like I have so many stories, just craziness. Like what was his name? Fabian or whatever is that little where? Sorry, this is UFC nerd speak. But when he had that little the guy who became his trainer, his manager, all that other stuff, I was there when it first started, and like me and Coach Chad were both like, this dude is bad news, and like, you know what I mean? Like people can be manipulated. It's easy when life happens that way. Unfortunately, people want to hear certain things, and this guy manipulated him, and it's unfortunate. Was just starting to get his life back together. Now he's got arrested by the Albuquerque Police Department, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's one of those tragedy stories. You're like, man, this guy could have been his life could have been and if he had just stayed away from certain people.
Like, could have been so much better.
It sucks. So like, you take a look at his career; it's pretty crazy. Like, like he's
multiple weight classes and just the crazy stuff that he did in the fights he had. Oh my god,
45 to 85. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because he was on Ultimate Fighter as a middleweight, right? So then him and Florian, I think both were middleweights, and then both ran most of their career at lightweight. So like, just the bulk they put on just to do that season is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild.
It was a Wild West, man.
Yeah,
fighting was the Wild West. Commissions were like barely doing anything. It was considered barbaric. It was considered stupid. Kind of still is.
Yeah, kind of.
But you know what I mean? Like it's crazy how it's grown so much. You know, I'm sure like pro wrestling was the same. You started small, got bigger and bigger, and now these are billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, from you got to think wrestling was in the circuses and the sideshow in those early in the 20s and 30s and 40s, and now it's this huge thing. UFC was just this little underground, like let's just have people beat the crap out of each other, and it turns into a $4 billion sale in 2016. It's crazy to see the evolution. So like I never got. You fought in Edmonton like 3 times, and a couple times when you were still kind of before you had signed to UFC. And I went to some of those fights whenever they show up in the city. I'd go to those, and I never got. I don't think I ever got to see you fight. I don't think I ever saw you fight live, which was like now I think about it, I'm like, damn it, why didn't I go to one of those fights that he fought in Edmonton? Damn it! Like I was so mad.
Those tapes are lost forever, I think too.
I've been to some danky ass MMA fights in this city. I'm just like, and I've been to some really nice ones in the city too. So there's a big difference. We'll talk about that in a bit. But you entered the UFC fighting John Collish first, and like some of you fought Quinta at one point, Michael Chiesa. Like you had a like kind of up and down career in the UFC, but still you got to go to kind of the peak of MMA. You get to work for the biggest company. How'd that feel getting to go there?
I don't know, like looking back, I feel very lucky, you know what I mean? Like for me, I was the first and so far the only guy from Saskatchewan, Saskatoon to fight in the UFC, to only combat sports athlete to fight in MGM Grand Gardner Arena. MGM Grand Gardner Arena. You know what I mean? That's a big deal. That's the arena. To be on a win streak in the UFC, to win a performance bonus, and then several other ones, because just being known for being super tough and being, fighting hard no matter the circumstances. Like there were, and I'd tell them beforehand, like, hey, like before my first fight, I told them I separated my shoulder 2 weeks ago. And I had a choice of either taking time off or fighting, you know what I mean? And I chose to fight instead. And looking back, is it stupid? Maybe, but I think because that was kind of a lot of my identity at the moment was just of being tough and being mentally strong, and it just wasn't enough. Like I had a guillotine right off the hop, and I remember feeling it and trying to crank on it, and I could feel like, you know, like when you start peeling apart like a chicken breast or something like that. That's how it felt, like inside the joint itself. You know what I mean? And I went to second round, and like the fact is, like 155 is a tough weight class. You guys have seen me in person. I'm not a small dude, and like I'd walk around 185 pounds just to make 155. I'd have to cut diet down. It's not like I was large, like a bad weight. So, but that's no excuses, because like even the Anton Kuvanen fight, the second fight, I still say I won that, and there's some extenuating circumstances with the judging, and I think it was incorrect, but I think I won the first and the second round. I still count it as a win to myself, and that's really, I'm the only person that matters. But like with that, 15 seconds of the fight, I blew apart my knee. I had an avulsion fracture of my knee. I checked a kick and I went to move off of it, and there's a chunk the size of a quarter that's gone from my kneecap, because after that fight, I had a choice to either have it, like they said they would use basically chicken wire, medical grade chicken wire, to bring the kneecap back together, but I would never do anything athletic again. And I said, can you just take it out? I don't need it. And so if like I can, like when you see in person, part of my kneecap goes like inward, and there's just a chunk missing, because once again, it was just like an important thing to me, to be able to, I saw fighting as a form of expression, and it's like an art form. And to me at the same time, it was also very cerebral, just being able to strategically be able to do moves to another person that, you know, trained 12 weeks to beat your ass. So it's human chess in its finest form, and it's also very primal at the same time. It's the epitome of, you know, masculinity, toxic or otherwise. But it meant so much to me, to the point where I was like, you know, take part of my kneecap. I don't care. I'd rather be able to do this. And to be honest, I went on a win streak after that.
You did.
And beating very good guys. John McGuire was supposed to be the next guy at 155. He was 2-2 at 170, and he was supposed to come to 155 and beat me up and move on this one win streak. And I remember he talked so much shit before the fight that I was just like, I'm not gonna let this dude do a thing. And I remember just punching him as hard as I could. Like right after we touched gloves, he went to jab me, and I hit him again. And then I just like chased him the whole fight, and I think I landed 100 and some leg kicks. So, which is like, was tied with Carlos Condit at the time for the most like kicks thrown in a fight, just because I was like not willing to back down. I beat Ali Quinta, who like
one of my favorite finishes of all time too, on top of it all.
And it's the only time it's ever happened. It's the only time anyone's done a Darce from the bottom in the UFC. It still hasn't been done. It almost got done that night by Ferguson. So I'm really happy that he didn't. Because
it would have overshadowed you in a major way. It's like,
oh, I've been so mad.
But to get that from the bottom is huge. Like you see it done. You see it done from the top, and it's just to get into it from the top. It is enough to get into it. But to get into dark stroke from underneath, the leverage isn't there, or you don't really think the leverage is there to do it.
Yeah, so it's a move that I do in sport jiu-jitsu. I was told by certain coaches, you'll never do this in fighting. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm kind of stubborn. But, you know, and like that win propelled me, you know, in some people's in the top 25 in the world in the hardest weight division. And then like I had a mean fight with Chiesa. You know, I tore my hamstring, and I know I screwed up his knee with one of the kicks. You know what I mean? Like this is like the hamstring tear was, what he did was smart. He went to throw me, I went to hip in, and he swept my leg, and I like when you over compress your leg,
Yes.
basically that's what happened. And with my leg underneath, so it came underneath and tore my hamstring.
Mm.
And it wasn't until the third round where I kind of like was like, oh man, I gotta get my shit together. So I did. And then he said it was some of the hardest times he's been punched. So, like I had a really hard, like he's a good opponent. He was top 10 in lightweight and welterweight, you know what I mean? And then after that,
Yeah, you had Joseph Duffy next, and then
and the Joseph Duffy one was just like bad circumstance. You can see in the footage my knee blow apart, and like I had to be carried out of the cage, which is unfortunate. You know what I mean? So it's just like it sucks. But and then Alex White, I'm just gonna air my dirty laundry. Like I asked that fight to be stricken from the record because he fouled me multiple times throughout that fight. He headbutted me so hard it broke my orbital. He turned me against the cage, and I watched him like lean back and just boom right here. And so there's a little divot in between and then for those that don't know, you're not allowed to headbutt in fighting. No. There's a little divot in between the mats and the cage, and my foot was in it after when he headbutted me, and like partially dropped me with this massive headbutt that cracked my orbital. I couldn't see on my left eye. And I also rolled my ankle so bad that I was pretty sure I broke it because it was caught in that little divot. But I kept fighting throughout that. I kept fighting, you know what I mean? Too tough for my own good, I guess. That's what Wink said, Coach Wink, Mike Winklejohn.
Mike Winklejohn, baby.
Yeah, dude, he's a great coach. Jackson Wink, they were a great team to me. MMA Lab, John Crouch, they were a great team when I was there. Like I've been very blessed with really good coaches and training throughout my life. But Wink hated that I had no regard for my own safety in fights, or just go out and fight hard and be mean and stupid. But like I remember, like I couldn't see out of my eye, and I'm just kicking him with this ankle that I thought might have been broken just because it was just like too tough. And like we hit the ground, and I was hoping like we'd go to the ground, and it stopped it right there. But like that headbutt was egregious and awful, and I don't know why the crowd was booing. I don't know if they were booing because I was retiring or because of the headbutt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it should have been at least points taken away, if anything, for that. Like it just, I watched that fight. I was watching that paper. I watched that fight live. I sat there going, what the living fuck? This is no. Yeah, that was one for me. I couldn't believe that. I was just stupid. This is stupid.
Absolutely, like unbelievable that even happened. Yeah.
It's more likely to happen because he was a southpaw. It does happen because of just the angles of our body. But when it's that egregious of you lean back, I watch you lean back and you throw your forehead into my face. And to be honest, he fought James Krause after me, and Krause was complaining throughout the fight about being fouled. Krause ended up winning, and they cut him because I think he's a dirty fighter. I think people like that are bad for the sport. Like you can give all the baloney crap of traditional martial arts. We're samurai, but I'm a warrior. You know what I mean? All that stuff. But at the same time, we have rules just like anything, because headbutting people is not safe. It's dangerous. They got it out of fighting for a reason, because like you're basically hitting someone with a bowling ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I had to have surgery to fix it.
Yeah, and that's a really bad place for it. And like I've seen incidental headbutts in MMA multiple times, and it still happens to this day. Because when you're coming in, especially when he's turned the opposite way of you, you're tending to both kind of come in on the same time, so that head can hit. It happens, but yeah, his was just very different.
But I think more so it brought the negative spotlight on the Edmonton Combat Sports Commission, because this was just after the death of Tim Hague, and they still went ahead with the UFC there. I was told that after the decision make, I can't appeal the decision. Jared Bellel's a terrible ref. I stated to the commission that there was no reason for him to be my ref, since there's a conflict of interest. He was a brown belt underneath my my head coach, Rodrigo Mandruka, and they had a falling out, and I didn't think that was necessarily fair. And now, like, the Edmonton Commission's a joke. They only do 5,000 seat minimum events because they get kickback or they get percentage of ticket sales. I think that is just a money-making scheme, and I think that they've been letting the the sport of MMA die, and now they have to do events, at River Cree, which is fine, but then they have to use commissions from other towns and cities, and I think that's also, like, that's just sidestepping the real issue, which is, like, this is a dangerous sport, and it should be taken care of appropriately. Kickboxing, there's commissions, there's appropriate guidelines. Pro wrestling's tough, you know what I mean? Like, that was
again. I know from that time when Tim Hague died, it kind of froze the scene for a little while. The independent scene. I was part of it at that time, and I was working with the people at the time. And it freezing the scene really messed a lot of things up.
Mhm.
And I know wrestling was then omitted from the Combat Sports Commission, which was good and bad to that in a sense, because it's pro wrestling is a kind of a different beast, but it's still a combat sport in the end.
Yeah.
So,
it is dangerous, you know what I mean? I think that, like, medics are always necessary, and we very rarely see them at events, unfortunately, except for, like, you see some big events and we see medics on site, and we've seen them when they've been necessary. And it's very important that you have trained personnel. Insurance wise, it makes sense to have medics on site in case of something goes bad, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
to that point, I could say the Top Talent in December, they had a medic on site after that scary shooting star press from Kevin.
Yeah.
They had a medic in there, and then I know they got an ambulance there right quick, but the medic being there was he was okay in the end. But having the medic there to be on hand for that, and I know from experience working with Love Wrestling these last few months, they've had medics on. They have medics there every show. I see them backstage waiting in case something happens.
Yep.
So that's what I like to see I like to see it when a company does do the things like that.
It all stands to reason that this sort of thing, like MMA, any combat sport, pro wrestling, whatever, it's all incredibly dangerous, and it just stands to reason that having that medic on site is critical for lack of a better term, critical.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen where they bring in these other commissions and for quote unquote out of town shows, and a person that did and basically like a sanctioned event but done poorly, and there was only one medic on site, and the medic didn't make it there in time, or like they didn't have enough people to be able to stretcher him out. And I think there's a pending investigation because someone passed away, you know what I mean? MMA is dangerous. I think that there needs to be higher standards, and I think like pro wrestling, same thing, is like there has to be a safety aspect involved because it can be dangerous, unfortunately. But I mean, like, anytime we do anything, it's dangerous. But like now we're actively going out of our way and doing dangerous things for the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's a choice you make to do that. So whether it's MMA and now professional wrestling, as you've been doing for these last 6 years now. It's 8 years. 8 years now.
8 years now. Yeah.
No, 6. Yeah, 8 years now. Yeah, 8 years. Yeah. My math was wrong. I forget everything pre-pandemic. It's just like the world.
The 2 years was just a time warp. It's just gone.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you retire from MMA and kind of go to be a regular person, but you talked about you speaking with people talking with Don Ferguson and speaking with people at WWE that got you in contact with Monster Pro Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So like going into that, like how did that feel kind of coming into the pro wrestling world and having to adjust literally punching people in the face for a living to pulling the punches, and how did that feel to like transition into that world?
It's tough, you know what I mean? Because like there is the level of theatrics that's involved. If you notice, I don't throw a lot of punches in my matches, and it's because like I still box, I still kickbox, you know what I mean? I still train, and like I get scared of like just molly-whopping a dude, you know what I mean? Like just potato
Yeah.
him. If I do, it's very clean and it's on purpose and it's very direct, but like I get scared of, I for the longest time until I was kind of like working with like Harlan Abbott for a while, he's like, you just need to kind of like change a couple of these things. And it's, so the ones I do, they're very specific, but I try to not do them too often just in case, because you don't want to, I know that I punch really hard and I don't want to hurt a dude. So it's always about safety, but a lot of it becomes of like, how do we project and kind of like really bringing in the theatrics and how do we like convey our messages to the crowd. And I think that's a very important thing and that was an important piece that I did learn at Monster Pro Wrestling, and it's just gotten better and better as I've gone.
Yeah. I can say I've seen the improvement in you over the years, because I was at like your first show. That's where that picture comes from, and I was at like you versus Rick Jules and all those early days. So just your time there, and I know we spoke with TY on our last episode, and I know you, him, Rich, Larry kind of formed that your kind of came together kind of as a group in the Rads, and you had your so how did that feel, like joining with your friends and just working in MPW for those couple years before the pandemic kind of shut everything down? What was it like for you just being in the promotion, getting that feel, and just
It was good, you know what I mean? Like it allowed me to really expand and kind of like develop your game. And there were some really good lessons I got from Massive Damage, just in terms of especially as I transitioned into a heel of just like the theatrics. And then I started really thinking about who are, like, in my opinion, some of the best heels. And immediately my mind goes to Ravishing Rick Rude, especially like during the late 80s and the early 90s. He kind of became that epitome of just such a strong heel. And so I used a lot of stuff from him just because he was kind of like, what do I hate seeing in other people? What kind of like brings a visceral reaction is just that macho confidence, that overconfidence, but people not being able to do anything about it. You know what I mean? So that really, like, that allowed it to really go. And then, like, as we developed that friendship there at MPW, it's so great. And it's really what led to like the Rads and that type of thing. And I think part of the reason why the Rads is so successful is because it was authentic. You could tell that we were having fun. You could tell that we enjoyed wrestling with each other. And you could tell that, like, it worked well because it wasn't a phony tag team be like, you and I guess you guys be partners or whatever. You have streamers on your pants and he has no hair, so let's go together. And you're like, okay, cool. This wrestling's fun. This makes sense.
I've
remember
seen that so many times.
Yeah.
So many times.
This was like, that was when I was in PPW. I was talking to one of the owners. He's like, well, we might have you tag with Levi Knight because, like, you both have streamers on your pants. I'm like, I wear a singlet now, man. Like, that's not gonna work. Like, we're very different wrestlers. I'm not saying, but like, no, thank you, sir.
Because for the longest time you had that, like, kind of the Macho Man tribute gimmick kind of in MPW. Then it did go transition over to RCW and LPW after the pandemic when you ended up there, and so you end up working with those two companies for a good. And I know you still work with RCW to this day. Again, I worked with you there for a bunch of times, which is how we got to know each other like quite well. And how did you feel just like with the pandemic kind of shutting everything down and then the restart, kind of moving over to RCW, LPW starting up, and specifically, I have a question about LPW. I want to ask you from their first show. That do you still have that submission championship somewhere in your house, or did that get put away?
Oh no, all right. It was. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go get the center picture all done. Never saw it again. Saw Tex at another later show. He's like, oh, that the belt's coming, and I'm like, It's like it's a prop, you know what I mean? Like I know that sounds shitty, but it's like it was fun. It was super cool to do. Beating up what's his face was fun.
Leo.
Yeah.
I just rewatched the match like a week ago. I was randomly in LPW's like back YouTube, and I watched it. I'm like, oh man, I remember this match. I ended up way up top in that venue, watching down from the top, and I was very mad about that because like there was some stuff I really wanted to see on that show, and it was a lot harder to watch.
Yeah. Since I'll probably never wrestle again. He was the heaviest little guy I've ever wrestled. Just like picking him up and stuff. He was so heavy, and I never understood why. But it was like he got good crowd reaction, you know what I mean? And yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff with that. And to be a part of that first show was super cool, and to have like a little title belt with it. You know, I feel very lucky, very blessed, you know, that I've had a lot of very cool opportunities like this. And, you know, I mean, like looking back, it's just like, it's cool that happened. And yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So you got Adam, go ahead.
No, I got nothing. Go ahead.
I was going to say in RCW, you've been I'm pretty sure you've been a tag champ there. They're heavyweight champion, you're the current North American champion a couple times now. Just how's it feeling? Kind of like, I know you work a lot of the Edmonton shows for them, but like, do you do any of their out of town, like their spot ones anymore, or is it just in your days?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I was for a while. It might be something you kind of like look at. Just scheduling wise, it becomes a little bit tougher with having a small child, and as well as like with my schedule with being a full-time teacher, with being doing stunts on the side as well. You get a text message there, Chief.
That's it.
But you know what I mean? So it's like these other things, it becomes harder at times. I'd love to do these other shows, but it's also like being able to make it, you know, to Calgary for 6 without taking a half day off, you know what I mean? So it becomes tough. And like if things line up perfectly, awesome. And if they don't, also that's fine. I'd like to do more shows, but at the same time, I'm not going to if someone's popular.
We keep hearing that buzz, Adam.
But sorry, that's my phone.
That's fine, man. It's cool.
I'm not far away from my computer now. Get out of here.
But you know what I mean? Like the juice has to be worth the squeeze in terms of just like being able to make it there on time, not be there last minute. I like to do things as professionally as possible. You know what I mean? And like I don't want to show up and then go wrestle someone that I might not enjoy wrestling. You know, I'm at that point where I enjoy wrestling and I enjoy doing it. And when I stop enjoying it, I'm going to stop doing it. I thought all the cool shit in my life was going to be done when I was done fighting, and I've been very wrong. A lot of some of the best stuff that's happened in my life has been since fighting. And you know what I mean? I love wrestling. I love doing it. I love watching it. But it just makes it hard sometimes just to be able to make those out of town shows and be there on time and all that other stuff. And also like get home at 3 a.m. and then be up at 6 or 6:30 with a small child. It makes it tough.
Yeah.
I couldn't even imagine, man.
I wouldn't be able to do that. Absolutely not.
So yeah, and over these last few years, since 2022, you've been working with Top Talent Pro Wrestling, who has popped up in the city, and I think has become one of the best. Like, has been an amazing professional wrestling organization here in town. I absolutely love the Midway venue, like just the way everything's surrounding. Great. The kind of pit feel to it. Like I know it's now elevated it up now but having that kind of center feel to everything. I love being there. So how has Top Talent been? You've been there. You've been there. You were the Top Talent Wrestling champion. You should be their champion again. You shouldn't. Simple as that. But how has that been working with Top Talent? And you were mentioning working with Harlan.
To be honest, like, and I'm biased, I'm also well aware of that. I think it's one of the premier organizations in Canada. You know, that and Dungeon, like in Western Canada, are like the top, in my opinion, because they combine a lot of the factors like, marketing as well as like like the videos, everything that goes into it is just so professional and top notch, and they make you feel like you're a superstar. You know what I mean? And the walkouts with the giant video in the background, the professionalism of just like everything that's involved, the photographers, the videographers, you know, the venue is makes it feel like walking out into a big arena. And like that's a huge part. And the fact that I was one of their champions for a while is like it's truly makes me feel good about myself, you know what I mean? And have some really good matches there, some really good, you know, like a couple good rivalries, that kind of thing. Tagging with Andy's pretty fun. I enjoy doing that. It's, you know, we had a good time last time. So it's one of those things. I feel really lucky being there, and just keep working hard and keep seeing what happens. I think I have one of the coolest entrances for entrance gear and stuff like that.
The music helps.
The music
and the Clockwork Orange quote helps.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like it's pretty cool, but it's also like at the same time it's tough to compete. You have so many cool characters and so many good wrestlers, you know what I mean? Males and females. I think there's just so many good wrestlers there that, you know, and there's no one trying to pull anyone down. And I think that's the biggest thing is like you have this top tier market. I mean, like top tier show, and in combination, you have just everyone wants everyone else to do well, you know, and that's what keeps elevating everyone is just having that mentality of like, you know what I mean? Like everyone wants to get to a big show, but you're not stealing my spot and I'm not stealing your spot. You know, it's the same thing in film. Like I'll be working in stunts and both me and my friend will both like apply on a job. And it's like, it's not, he's going to steal my job if he gets it. What I think of is like, if I don't get it, I want my friend to get it. Or maybe if I get it, it's because I have a look they want. Or maybe they're looking for my friend's look. It's the same thing in wrestling. It's not like we all have to have crabs in the bucket mentality. It's more so about us elevating each other, because I think unfortunately where we are in Alberta, we just don't get the spotlight on us. And there's so many talented wrestlers in this region. It's so unfortunate that you know the world doesn't get to see how talented all of these people are. And I wish more people did, because there's so much talent in such a small area that it, you know, I wish more of it, the focus came here. And it's tough, you know, to be able to try and go work in the States because of visas and otherwise. And it's just like, there's only so many shows you can go to. And I wish that people could see how talented the wrestlers here are, because they're so good.
Yeah. And I'm really glad, because like next week we have Mystery Wrestling coming in, who are in partnership with Top Talent. And I think I've heard a couple people I know, like I heard Riley Rose is scheduled to do the show. And I feel like there's going to be more Top Talent guys on that show. Certain ones I'm hoping more than others, but you know, I'm hoping for everybody to get their shot at it. But to really put more guys on the map, hopefully using a Mystery Wrestling, which is like, virally it's insane. It gets so many looks at it now because of TikTok and all the in reels and all everything. So
definitely on the road to being one of those super indies at this point.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially like you see like the people they bring in, just nuts.
Takamichi no Ku.
I'm so excited for that one. But I know Adam has a couple questions about some stuff you've done outside of the ring.
Yeah, so you know you've been working with Top for 4 years, and at a certain point, and I believe it was 2024, you probably got thrown this opportunity to work to do some work in a horror film by the name of Dark Match. Great, there it is. Yeah, great film, by the way.
Courtesy of my friend Peggy. She's the one that gave me the hat because she ended up going to the screening.
Here, yeah.
So she got 2 of them. So
great film. I just want to know about some of the behind the scenes, like the filming process. You know, sort of like, because I'm a huge like theater guy. I'm a huge like nerd of that sort of scene. I'm just curious what it was like being in that position.
I don't know, like I'd taken drama in university my first time when I got my environmental science degree, and you know, it was great. I did some Shakespeare, that kind of thing, and then you realize that type of theater acting is so much different than film acting. It doesn't transfer over as much. It's like theater acting is to pro wrestling, that is probably like a closer parallel than it goes to film, in my opinion. Film is so subtle and that kind of thing, so that was a big thing. I told Lowell Dean that he changed my life, and I don't think he really understands. He's the director of Dark Match, because like I'd done an indie film before that called The Druid's Hand with my good friend, who's now, like, he did the movie Low Lifes, which is like on Crave. It's a very good friend and like a good friend of mine, and he made that, and I think it's his work in it is genius. Druid's Hand was super fun to do, so I done one indie thing and I applied on Dark Match and I got the role, and I just felt so lucky, because essentially with the way it was scheduled out, it allowed me to get my full extra card, which has been life-changing, just in the sense of like I've been able to do so many cool things because of that, and because of Dark Match, it'll always have a special place in my heart, because I got to, like, you know, got to be with Stephen Ogg in a film and hang out with him. Aisha was super kind and very nice to be around and very helpful. I got to work with Jean Frenette, who is probably one of the top stunt coordinators, like, of the early 2000s, and he's, you know, right now he's doing Good Cop, Bone Cop, or whatever the hell it is. I won't watch it because I don't have cable and I don't want to, but but you know what I mean? Like, I got to meet him, and he sent me to the stunt garage, and that got me opportunities, and, you know, it's allowed me to work for Netflix and for HBO, and then the last production I was on, I can't talk about because I got to sign an NDA, but like some pretty cool stuff, and it's all started because of Dark Match. Even for an indie film, I think it had $8 or $9 million budget, which is crazy. It was so expansive. The scheduling was so nice because it was so actually on time. And as opposed to like
unlike wrestling, unlike
wrestling, unlike wrestling, but also unlike big productions, which is like the bigger the production, the crazier it is for people to work. I also get it. You have so many more things you have to organize, but it was just like super cool. I got to hang out with Chris Jericho when we both got our makeup done at the same time.
Very cool.
Mo Jabbar was there. Jonathan Cherry wanted to be my friend. You could tell on set because he's a huge UFC nerd. Loves it. Yeah. And I was just like, I have super bad ADHD. So when I'm not fixated on something, it usually just immediately turns into anxiety. And I'm not used to people wanting to be my friend. So I was like, kind of not standoffish, but I didn't know how to really react to like this person I'd seen in Final Destination and Goon and all this other shit.
Yeah.
Trying to be my friend. So it was like I was probably off-putting because I just have, as my wife calls it, resting Mitch face. So but it's usually just because I'm internalizing what's going on and I don't know how to react to stuff, because usually like if I'm not like doing something where I can fixate on something appropriately, it usually transitions into anxiety because I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life half the time.
Sorry,
Jonathan Cherry.
I feel that in every sense, which I've dealt with ADHD my entire life. I feel that in every single sentence.
My dad's name is Mitch. I also say he has resting Mitch face.
So good.
That's great. It's so cool to hear about that, because like watching that movie, you can tell there's a lot of love in it, and like a lot of love in the angles and the effects and in the stunts. Like I could go on for hours about how much I love that movie, because it feels like it was tailor made for someone like me, huge horror movie fan, huge wrestling fan, and I could probably do a video essay on dark match if I wanted to.
There's a lot of fun with dark match. My only gripe,
Yeah.
well, I have two gripes. First one is I want Lowell Dean to do a sequel and then have me in it, because technically I don't die on screen, so you don't know if I'm dead or yet not. So bring me back.
You could be the big reveal of like the big. Yeah, I'd love that.
Although he will have to explain somehow why I'm probably about 20 pounds bigger than I was then and have such better facial hair.
Yeah, right.
But and then my other gripe is like it has nothing to do with the film, but everyone touts about how the main character Misbehave is a 2-time jiu-jitsu world champion. I've checked multiple times because I'm kind of a petty bitch, and there's like not a single mention of I've gone to years of therapy, all these other things. I know I'm a petty bitch. Like it's just the way it is. That's who I am as a person deep down. I just know these things about me. But
that's great.
But there's not a single mention of, like they start talking about the other people in the film, and there's not a single mention of like multiple time UFC fighter. Not a single thing. So it's just like for the longest time, I used to say I was the Rodney Dangerfield of Canadian MMA. Just no respect. No respect. But you know what I mean? Like dark match, it's super fun for what it is. When I first watched, I thought there was more comedy elements. There's a lot of like layers to it, and obviously I'm biased because I'm in it and I want to sell people on it. So there's a sequel. Like Wolf Cop got a sequel. Let's get a dark match sequel.
Yeah.
But like a big thing is like there's a lot of talk about like subtleties of like racism or sexism in sports and all these like little things that are involved in it that I never really thought watching the first time. And like the first time I'm like, it's a wrestling movie and there's like dude gets lit on fire. That's fucking cool. But but then it like as you go to multiple premieres, you're like, oh, there's actually like layers to this. Like there's like the more you watch it, the more you kind of see in it. Mm-hmm. Besides me assaulting Mo Jabari in it,
which is okay.
Well, like it was like
in a wrestling ring. It's a wrestling ring. It's very okay.
It was 4 a.m, and like I think that both of us were kind of loopy, and he kind of forgot what he's supposed to do next. And I look at the sound corner, he's just like, "Do stuff," and I'm like, "I got this. Don't worry." But yeah, it's.
Mitch channeling his inner Moon Knight. Random bullshit. Go.
Yeah. So, but to be honest, that movie changed my life positively. I have a big poster of it. I'll state this is like Harlan Abbott and I were at the Edmonton premiere, and we got the poster from it, and there hasn't really been many printed. It was like especially printed, and I have it on like in a actual like frame poster. I have all my favorite movies in posters, which also shows how much of a moron I am, because it's like Jaws, The Thing, Alien, Conan the Barbarian, Dark Match, and you're like, cool.
Those are all great movies.
Those are all phenomenal movies.
Those are all like stuff. Conan's the only one I go, I don't know if I'd frame a poster of it, but it's a great movie. I don't know if I'd frame a poster of it.
They don't make that poster anymore. My buddy got it for me, who like runs a nerd shop, and he's like, they don't make it anymore. So I'm like, hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, that's completely valid on that front then.
But also like it really channeled like that movie, seeing it at a very, open time in my life where you're like 14, you're like, you see Arnold Schwarzenegger like chopping down dudes and like has his massive tits out, and you're like, yeah, I want to have like yeah, brother. You know what I mean? Like it is like, I was like, yeah, this is the epitome of 80s male. And there might be some toxicness in it, but at the same time, you're like, he's also nice to ladies. He has a girlfriend, now she's dead, and now, you know what I mean? Like whatever. But then you take a look, the music's really good in it. Mm-hmm. Costuming's great. Like the dialogue is awful, but it has who's that Norwegian dude that's in it? He plays the king.
Oh, Oh, what's his name?
He's in the Seventh
I
Seal.
thrown my phone.
I'm literally
So
looking
far
it up.
away. But anyway, yeah, just his name escapes me. But you have some tremendous actors in it. And is it a good movie? Yeah, kind of. Is there good aspects to it? 100%. And and next to the other two, it's tough when you're spliced between The Thing, 1982's The Thing, and 1979's Alien. You know what I mean? You have big shoes to fill on my wall.
It's
and
tough
Jaws
act to follow either of them.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So, yeah. So I don't know. Dark Match. I have nothing but good things to say. I hope they eventually do a sequel and they film it out here and somehow can squeak me in there somehow.
That would be great.
Bring back Kid Humble.
Bring him back.
Kid Humble, come on. He's not dead. He didn't die.
Humble
No,
didn't die.
He's alive. He's alive.
He's alive. Oh, that's great. I love hearing about that.
I know along with your teaching, your kind of the real life world teaching and raising the family, but you do work for Unified MMA when they roll into. How's it felt beginning to kind of be part of MMA, but from a different side of it?
I'm really lucky working for them in the fact of they've given me a huge platform, and I get to work for John Ramdeen, who is probably like the pinnacle for commentary in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the best at what he does. Him and yeah, I'd say he's probably the best in my opinion. Mauro Ranallo is very, very good, but you don't see him quite as much anymore. And I like John Ramdeen for MMA. Mauro Ranallo has been great for wrestling, for doing everything. And I have a picture with him. Just don't let me forget this story about Mauro Ranallo. Let me come back to it after this. But
100%.
So I'm really lucky where I get to work with John Ramdeen, and he loves how I can break down stuff, how it works, why it works, what they should do, all these different things on the fly. A lot of it just comes down to the fact that I'm very cerebral when it comes to these things, when it comes to fighting, when it comes to especially like grappling and those types of things. It's understanding why it works, and that's why I'm a good instructor, is because I explain not just do this, it's like, why do we do this as opposed to this? So what are some advantages, some disadvantages? But the idea is I can really, as it's happening, break it down as to what they should do, what they need to do, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, these types of things. So they like it. When it was on Fight Pass, they loved it. They're on Unified Plus, so they got their own app. You can watch all of their library right now. There's a ton of up-and-coming fighters in Canada coming out of Unified. And I think there's going to be some big things happening for Unified. So I just feel lucky to be part of the show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Very awesome.
Mauro Ranallo's story.
Mauro, yeah, please.
He is the sweetest person I've ever met. And me and one of my cornermen, we came to a press conference in Calgary, which they brought me out for when they were announcing the Calgary show. And we saw Mauro Ranallo. And he was just so nice and happy. And so I look at my buddy Cam, who's my quarterman, and I'm like, am I going to get a picture but not look enthralled to be there? So we have this picture where he's like, Mauro Ranallo's got the biggest smile. It was like, and it's one of my favorite photos. And it has nothing to do with Mauro Ranallo, but it's just like, I've seen so many photos. I did the same thing with one of the ring card girls, Ariana, I think her name was. I don't really remember because they make way more. They change out all the time, and they make way more money than I did when I was fighting. So I was just kind of bitter.
Yeah,
way more. But I remember I did the same thing with that. That was like my thing for like 2 weeks. I'm like, I knew I just looked like a jerk. I need to stop doing that. So, but I'll send you the picture sometime of me with Mauro Ranallo. It's like one of my favorites because he's so happy, and we both just look like not as done.
And you just got the resting Mitch face going on.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly what it is. With no beard, no nothing. So baby face, resting Mitch face going on.
Wild.
So good. Adam, you got anything else for him before we get out of here?
No, I think I've learned a lot about one Mitch Clarke.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
actually, no, I've got one thing. So there, you're transitioning into a new finish, the Ultraviolence driver, as we call it over here. Phenomenal move. But before that, and you still do break it out, the old Ludwig van Driver, aka the Spindly Binley. Was that again? This is me not having good history with one's Mitch Clarke's wrestling career. Has that always been in your lexicon, or did that just
No.
transition into no?
No, like
Yeah.
before it was like usually a submission of some type, or for the longest time it was the Rude Awakening. I used to do the Rude Awakening as the finish.
Mhm.
Colton Kelly would start doing it, so I stopped doing it.
Mhm.
And I was doing basically like a version of the $1 Million Dream because it made sense. And then when I was at the Top Talent Academy, they're like, we're pretty athletic. And who was it? Velveteen Dream. That's what we'll really say about him. But he used to do that, except for like when I do it, I basically do a cartwheel with the person on my shoulders when I do it. He rolled through it. I look to try and cartwheel with the person, and it looks cooler. It's safe. The bigger the person, the more fun it is, because I just like that's just physics.
Yeah.
Physics.
So yeah.
We get
so
a
like
bigger the person, bigger the cushion for you to land on.
Well, that's usually like you watch if I'm with a bigger person, I spring up right onto my feet. They're little, they're not so much, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, just super cool, super fun. I think it's a cool move. No one really does it. Definitely drivers are cool. I just like the little bit of flair on it, and it's fun and feels safe, and no one really gets hurt from it. And I like all those things.
It's definitely one of my favorite SIGs in the scene right now. So absolutely had to ask about that. That's all I got. But yeah, no, that was a great conversation we just had.
I don't remember much of what I said. I'm sure I said a whole bunch of things of substance.
So I want to thank you so much, Mitch, for joining us here.
Thank
Again,
you,
I've known you over the years for a long time, and I appreciate you coming on, chatting with us about your life and career. Where can people find you, or do you really use the social medias that much? I know you have them, but
I have them. They're on private. You know, that's part of like working.
That's where you can find them, anyways.
You can find me on them. That's fine. You just like I'm not going to respond if I don't know you, or if I think that you're one of my students, then I definitely won't respond, and I'll probably just block you. I don't understand this. Like when I was a kid, like teacher didn't exist outside of school. They just lived and at that school. That was their personality. But then like kids want to know everything about you, and I'm like, I'm not your friend. I will never be your friend ever. I am here to educate. I am here to be an educator. That's it. I don't want to be your friend.
When I was a kid and I used to run into my teachers at like the grocery store, I'm just like, God, I would just go in the other direction. It's like, I don't want to see you outside of a classroom. I don't like you anyways. So I don't like you when I'm in a classroom. Why am I going to talk to you outside
teachers? They probably felt the same way.
Yeah. Like, don't wrong. If I see one of my teachers now that I'm an adult, it's like, oh, okay, hey, how you doing? Because it's a teacher. I'm an adult now, different world. But like, as a kid, you're like, run the opposite direction. I do not want to see you right now.
I went to Spirit of Halloween one year, and I was walking into it. It wasn't like, cause I live in the suburbs. I was in Edmonton, and I went to go like into a Spirit of Halloween, and I saw one of my students. He's like, "Hey, Mister," and I just pointed at him like, and his mom. I said, "Nope," and I just walked in like, "Nope."
Oh, so good.
Nope. I'm not doing this. I'm not a person anymore. Don't talk to me.
That is so valid.
Don't need a friend. I'm all friended up. That's it. I'd rather make up some roster spots, to be honest. I'm all friended up.
It's so good.
It's too bad that one of those friends has a Transformer addiction, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Larry, like you think I haven't even touched on half of my stories, but that dude is an interesting man. Like Lumberjack Larry is. Remember those old "The Most Interesting Man" commercials they had for beer? That's Larry.
Oh,
I didn't even know he had another name. He's just Larry. But yeah, that's a dude you should talk to, because he's like, he brings up every conversation he's in. Like he just Boom. Energy wise. Boom. Useless information about Transformers or some other dorky shit. You know what I mean? He's just like, he is the man when it comes to that. He just like, like when you have, you got banana bread. Banana bread's great. He's the chocolate chips and banana bread.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit caramel. You know what he's not? He's not walnuts.
Yeah, there you go.
Walnut, absolutely.
No one wants walnuts. The people who do that, they're wrong.
We always lovingly call him fucking Larry here. That's how we refer to him on the show as fucking Larry. But
he's good stuff, man. He's a good dude.
I swear, our episode with Larry is going to be like 4 hours long at this rate.
Yeah,
there'll be a couple editions of this show. Jeez. But yeah, as we get it here, I want to give my boy AWS platform. Where can they find you, my friend?
Absolutely. You can find me on the Bluesky at awscomedy.bluesky.social. You can find me on the Instagrams at awscomedyeg. And if you want to watch me, my buddy Andreas, and my best friend Malcolm talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 2, you can find the Morphomania podcast at youtube.com/@humanoidfreak2515. We just sat down last week and we recorded our first episode in a long time. It's currently being edited as we speak. The next 3 episodes of Season 2. I'm just gonna come out and say it straight up. This is the most fun I've had in a recording for the Morphomania podcast. There is so much fun to be had in this episode. When it comes out, I swear you will not be disappointed. Absolutely give it a watch. And I want to give a quick shout out to the Grindstone Theater, my favorite place in the city. A lovely space with it's a subsidized space for new and emerging artists. My shout out this time for a show you should go see is this Thursday, March 19th, as it comes out. There is going to be some Weird Al karaoke. They do this every third Thursday, or Thursday, as they say, at 9 p.m. at the Grindstone Theater and Bistro on 100th Street and 81st Ave. I said White Ave last time, and people were giving me crap in the DMs. But I've done Weird Al. I haven't done it. I have a couple parodies on the back burner, but I've been to a couple of these shows. It is the most fun. If you love Weird Al, there are some very creative people in the city writing some very awesome parody music. Definitely go check it out if you got the chance. Tickets are only $13, and you can find their tickets at their website at grindstonetheater.ca. That's enough from me. Andre C., where can they find you, my friend?
You can find me on the X and Bluesky at That Kind of Guy, Instagram and Threads at That Kind of Dude. I really don't respond to most people on those things. The same as Mitch. Unless I know you, I don't usually respond back, but you can try. You can also find me over on Our Local Establishment, where I do my show Point of View every Sunday, where we talk about the world in sports and everything. We talked about a lot of F1 this morning and a lot of NFL. So we chatted all about that stuff. So check that out over on Our Local Establishment. And then you can find us right here, Backbreaker Video. We do the Pop Spot Presents. Lots of great content coming out here, along with all the great watch-alongs from Mike the Ref. You can see him live at Mike the Ref, and see replays of all his gaming content from Twitch over at youtube.com/@backbreaker_gaming.
I have a question.
Sure.
I have like 2 things, and I know it's probably number 1. We should probably do like a dark match, like watch-along kind of thing. I think that would be great. Yeah, he's all in. I have a question.
I've already
a really important question about your Morphomania podcast kind of thing.
Please.
How deep does it go? Like, I was like Gen 1, but also I've stated I'm old. So it's like, how deep does this thing go? Does it like go to when Zordon or whatever his name? Like,
we started this thing. The idea, I wasn't a part of it to start. The idea was that my buddies Malcolm and Andreas were just going to watch the episodes from start to finish, season 1 all the way to the end, and review them, just, shoot the crap about them. I jumped on the second episode because I thought it would be cool for them to have a gimmick where they had someone that never watched it before. Because I never watched it as a kid. I very recently started watching the Japanese, the predecessor, Super Sentai, and I'm a huge fan of that. So I thought I could bring a unique hook to the show. And I jumped on episode 2, and it's been great ever since, except for that one year where we did absolutely nothing.
Solid.
But yeah, no, we're bringing it
they're
back.
into season 2 of of Power Rangers right now.
Of
They're
Mighty
into
Morphin specifically.
Mighty Morphin,
Yeah,
so.
we're right smack dab in Lord Zed territory.
Solid. All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's
I
a
like
great
that.
time. I absolutely love doing it. Anyway, can I get a pop for all of that?
Pop.
Pop. So with that, we've come to the end of the third episode of Pop Spot Presents. Once again, thank you very much, Mitch Clarke. Thank you for joining us.
Oh,
Any last words for the people?
I don't know. Follow your heart.
I think that's the perfect place to leave it.
Follow your heart. That's what I tell kids usually when I see them running on wet floor and someone says, "Don't run." I say, "Follow your heart."
Heck
Good
yeah.
advice. Just good advice
Great
in
words
general.
to live by. Great words to live by.
Follow your heart.
Follow your heart, absolutely. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to Backbreaker Media, comment, do all the fun stuff because you know us at the Pop Spot deserve it. And until next time, stay poppin'. Bye-bye.